Well, while we were on the subject of the Holocaust, which apparently I will remain on the subject of the Holocaust for quite some time now, because of all the Holocaust deniers in Europe, and today the Polish are the newest batch of Holocaust deniers. And I told you in the previous video that the more you guys whine and cry about being shown for what your history is, the more I'm going to expose you. And the more offended you're going to be, the more offensive I'm going to be. So, you want to claim that Poland, the government of Poland, had nothing to do with the Holocaust. Well, we have a problem here, folks, don't we? You see, because on the Jerusalem Post posted this morning, there's an article about letters carried by postmen. You know, employees of the Polish government that describe the destruction of Polish Jewry. And there are a couple of links that are on this article. One of them is last letters from the Holocaust displayed in Yad Vashem project, and the next link is thousands of Jewish documents lost during the Holocaust discovered. So, according to the Jerusalem Post, this is a 2-minute read, and it has a picture. It has a picture of an envelope with a note on it. And I know you guys. And I had one of you making comments on one of my previous videos about this, claiming for some reason, because I don't speak Polish, that my opinion doesn't matter. Well, I don't read Polish either, but other people do. If you go to the Jerusalem Post and look at this article, you will see a picture of an envelope, and you will see in Polish what is written. The National Library of Israel published this week handwritten messages about the destruction of Poland's Jews, scrawled on envelopes sent via the Polish Postal Service between September 1940 and May 1941. The letters were brought to the National Library 6 months ago by Joseph Weikert, the son of Michał Weikert, who was in the Warsaw and Krakow ghettos during World War II. From 1940 to 1942, he headed the Jewish Social Self-Help Committee, which organized social assistance for Jews in camps and ghettos. While many documents that have been in Weikert's possession have been stored at the library's archives for years, the letters are relatively new to them. The library released them to the media in a week when the subject of the Polish people's role in the Holocaust has made waves. After Poland advanced legislation to criminalize statements suggesting the country bears responsibility for crimes against humanity committed by Nazi Germany. Now is the time to give you this historic item, Weikert's son told archivists. It's important for the world to know the story and remember, and also to know that the Poles were partners in atrocities of the Germans during the Holocaust, and they knew about these atrocities. He gave the archivists an album of 59 envelopes sent between September 1940 and May 1941 to various branches of the committee. All the letters Michał had sent out were returned to sender with various notes written on them. According to translations of the text by Joseph Weikert, these included messages reading, and I quote, the Jews have been expelled, and the Jewish Council no longer exists. There is no doubt that the Polish postmen were well aware of the fate of the recipients whose letters were returned to sender, remarked National Library archivist Dr. Gil Weisblue. Joseph related to the archivist that his father had been shocked by the return of all the letters, knowing that each comment on each envelope signaled the end of that community. Some envelopes had Polish stamps on them reading, "German victory on all fronts," which in Weikert's eyes expressed cooperation and identification of Poles with the Nazis' actions. He hid the envelopes together with additional documentation of those days, which he took out of a hiding place at the end of the war. The Nazis dissolved the Jewish Social Self-Help Committee in July 1942, after which Weikert obtained their consent to operate it as the Jewish Aid Office, subordinate to and run under the close supervision of the Gestapo. The ties between the aid organization and the Nazis led to post-war charges against him of collaboration with the Nazis, and though he was exonerated, yes, I know, some of you some of you Poles went and accused Jews of being collaborators with the Nazis, and yes, there were a few like George Soros. But many of those who were accused were also exonerated. And this one was exonerated in a trial in Krakow in 1946, though he remained a controversial figure. In 1958, Weikert left Poland for Israel together with his wife and his son. So, just like the Croatians a few years ago, the Jews think they can go and exonerate themselves, try to absolve themselves of what we all know is the truth. There was culpability of the Poles with the Nazis. Now, day before yesterday, one of those days, I mentioned large numbers of Poles, upwards of 6,000, that actively helped the Jews to their own detriment and are listed among the righteous of the nations. And in that video, I mentioned that those Poles will be recognized at the court in Zion and will be invited to the kingdom in Jerusalem, without a doubt, and I use scripture to prove it. And yet, I am being accused of being a whiner, a slanderer of the Poles, and I'm being told to get over it. Well, I'm going to read to you what I told this person, if I can find it. I'm amazed that I got so much feedback from this video that I posted yesterday. Now Poland blames the Jews for the Holocaust. So this guy whose handle is Marek crusader, he says no one is saying that bad Poles didn't exist. The law is about not calling Auschwitz Polish death camps or other camps in Poland territory. It is super important to us because many Polish people were there as prisoners, not only Polish Jews. How the FAC camp, created by Germany, where the personnel were Germans, you can call otherwise than German death camps. SSKL Auschwitz personnel know Polish names. And so he leaves a link. So his excuse for what's happening is he is saying it's about squeezing from Poland $65 billion since Germany stopped paying for the Holocaust to Israel in 2000. Jews want to find a new responsible for that crime, so penalization phase of phrase Polish death camps, which is untruth. There was only German death camps in occupied Poland, will not help exhibit Poland as responsible for the Holocaust. So my answer to him was this: I have never heard anyone calling them Polish death camps until the Polish government brought it up. They have always been called Nazi death camps. So to propose a stupid law like that within hours of the Holocaust Remembrance Day is a brazen slap in the face of every Jew on the face of the earth, and you know it. If you would have bothered to listen to my whole video, you would realize that the Holocaust did not start in the 1930s. The Holocaust started with the destruction of Jerusalem by your hero, Nero Caesar, in 70 AD. And peaked again several times, beginning with the First Crusade. Each and every European nation participated in these multiple Holocausts at least once, as did their friends, the Arabs. Therefore, judgment is upon all those nations. There is no escaping the wrath of Jehovah while slandering the holy seed. And I quote John the Baptist in this next line. Now the axe is laid upon the root of every European nation. Every tree that does not yield good fruit will be chopped down and thrown into the fire. And so, as I said before, so went Jerusalem in 67 through 70 AD. So shall go Rome and Europe. Because punishment is going to be exacted double. Twice as bad. Twice as many plagues, twice as much misery as what happened to Jerusalem in 70 AD. I've already gone over the Revelation 18 to prove it. It's going to be double. And as I said before, those thousands and thousands and thousands of righteous among the nations, including Poland, will be taken out, will be brought to Jerusalem for safekeeping, while the rest, who did not help in any way but stood by while the Jews were being slaughtered, are going to receive the punishment. I'm not the one who made that statement. All I'm doing is repeating it. So, as we read in Revelation 18, that Rome and all her cities are going to be rewarded double for what they did to Jerusalem. How are they going to be rewarded? In what way? So we know now that because of Revelation 18 proves that all Israel are going to be gathered back to Jerusalem, and all and Rome and all her cities are going to receive their double in reward for what they did to Jerusalem. But let's get a little bit more detail here about what's going to happen to those righteous among the nations. You can go look up, but there are more. There's many, many, many more who are not listed. They are going to be taken to Jerusalem too for safekeeping. And throughout all the Middle Ages, those who helped the Jews, during that time, they are all going to come into the kingdom, every one of them, while the ones who stood and did nothing. Well, let's read it together, shall we? Matthew 25 and verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, and then he shall sit upon the throne of his glory. He will sit on the throne of David, exactly as it says in the prophets. And before him shall be gathered all the nations. That's right. And he shall separate them one from another. And before him, one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, which will be in Jerusalem, but the goats on his left, which will be Rome. And then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, and saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, and fed you, or thirsty, and gave you drink? And when did we see you a stranger, and took you in, or naked, and clothed you? Or when saw we you sick, or in prison, and came unto you? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of... No, that's not what it says. Inasmuch as you've done it to one, just one, of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. Don't sit here and say that the Jews are not the brethren of Messiah, because if you do, you are a Holocaust denier. You are a you are a slanderer and a denier. They are his brethren. They are his brethren, just as Joseph's brothers were his brethren. Then shall he say unto them on his left hand, verse 41, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto you? And then he shall answer them, and saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you did it not to the least of these my brethren, you did it not unto me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. These are the people of the Gentiles he's speaking to. It says the nations, which means the Gentiles. when the Jews were in their affliction, when they were the hated, there were some who gave them water to drink. There was some who gave them food to eat. There was some who put clothing on their back, who hid them from the murderers. Those are the ones. Those are the ones who will be invited to the kingdom in Jerusalem among the nations, while the rest will have to suffer punishment. The day of Jehovah's wrath upon the Gentiles. There's no way of getting around it. And if you continue to try to claim that the Jews are not Yeshua's brethren, I will prove to you even more that they are. Don't even try it. Once again, keep denying. You keep denying the Holocaust, and I will find more evidence and throw it in your face, and I will become more offensive with it.